India and Pakistan mounting tit-for-tat diplomatic offensives as tensions simmer in the wake of Tuesday's terror attack in Indian-administered Kashmir. Concerns rising over the threat of conflict between these neighbours who have long accused each other of backing forces to destabilise the other. Islamabad has warned that any threat from India on its sovereignty will be met with, quote, firm reciprocal measures. Pakistan has cancelled all visas to Indian nationals with the exception of Sikh pilgrims as India orders all Pakistani citizens to leave the country by the 29th of April. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi pledging an unrelenting fight to quote, destroy the remainder of the land that belongs to terrorists.
I say to the whole world, India will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backers. We will pursue them to the ends of the earth.
Police in Kashmir have released the names of 3 suspects, saying 2 are Pakistani. New Delhi has yet to offer any proof connecting the attack to its neighbour, and Islamabad has denied any involvement. Protests have erupted both in India and Pakistan. Demonstrators in Islamabad and other parts of the country rallying against India's suspension of a water-sharing treaty, demanding that their government retaliate. In New Delhi, protesters also took to the streets and were seen burning effigies and chanting anti-Pakistan slogans. This is the worst attack on civilians in India since the 2008 Mumbai shootings. And for more, Neha Poonia joins us live from New Delhi, and Hira Mustafa in Islamabad. Neha, let's get to you first. India ordering all Pakistani nationals to leave the country by the 29th of April. Is that even possible?
You know, we've seen an exodus of Pakistani nationals who've either been here for tourism or for medical treatment, make a beeline to the Attari-Wagah border in the western Indian state of Punjab, a border that both sides have now said will no longer be functional, not only impacting the movement of people, which was already very limited given how tense ties have been in the last 5 to 6 years, but a move that will also impact bilateral trade. There aren't too many Pakistani nationals in India. We've been trying to get a confirmation from the Ministry of External Affairs on what that number looks like. But, you know, experts have been talking to say that this is what always happens whenever there's a conflict between two nations. It's the people that end up being caught in the middle. We've seen Pakistani nationals who say they're going to try and leave immediately, but certainly it is going to be hard for those, especially here, who are receiving medical treatment. But, you know, given the sort of anger and shock that's still resonating in India over that attack on Tuesday, which is the deadliest terror attack India has seen against civilians in nearly 2 decades. There's a lot of pressure on the government to show action, to show that it's doing something to address what happened. And in that light, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made his first comments since that attack, speaking at a public rally in the eastern state of Bihar. You know, interestingly, he usually always speaks in Hindi, but he chose to deliver those comments in English because experts say he wanted that message to travel far and wide. And he said India will do whatever it can to punish the perpetrators and their backers, a tacit reference to Pakistan.
Hira, let's bring you in. You heard Neha there, the people demanding that their government retaliate. Pakistan as well, we're looking at protest footage just before we cross to you. They're also putting their government under pressure to make some moves.
Well, the raft of measures that Pakistani side has just announced in response to the national security meeting that concluded a while ago, it's because of the escalating situation in which top military officials, including the foreign minister, defense minister, and information minister, all present. After conducting a detailed security analysis of Pakistan's internal and security challenges, they came forward with these retaliatory measures. Experts believe that it's a tit-for-tat response, and this does not come as a surprise. It was expected. The few of the retaliatory measures that are being announced by the Pakistani government includes the suspension of Pakistani airspace. The Indian airlines are not allowed to use Pakistani airspace. We have seen a similar situation in 2019 when there was a cross-border strike in Indian-administered Kashmir, and Pakistan came up with the same the retaliatory response that we are seeing today, and that because of that, India was losing. India lost billions of dollars in terms of economy. Having said that, the other retaliatory response by the Pakistani government is the suspension of the trade that is actually happening through third world countries also. And the other measure that is being taken by the Pakistani side is that they have reduced the number of diplomats and staff members in the Indian High Commission, and the Pakistani side have ordered that it needs to be implemented within the time frame of April 30th.
Hira, you mentioned the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty. Pakistan has rejected Indian plans to suspend that particular treaty. It's calling it an act of war, an act of water war. How important is this treaty to Pakistan's water supply?
Well, yes, we are seeing a very strong reaction coming from the Pakistani side when we talk about Indus Water Treaty after India's announcement of suspending Indus Water Treaty, a major water sharing agreement, which is very critical for Pakistan, as 80 to 90% of Pakistan's agriculture relies on these waters flowing from India to Pakistan. So this announcement of India has unleashed an anger among the average Pakistanis also, and there are concerns that if India changes the course of water, then Pakistan's economy would be in trouble. Therefore, Pakistani side has stated that if India or New Delhi would try to change the course of water, they should brace themselves for a kinetic reaction from Islamabad.
Oh, thanks. Neha, let's bring you in. Earlier mentioning India needs to show that it is acting in response to this attack in Kashmir. What moves do you expect from Prime Minister Modi's administration?
Since that meeting that Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired on Wednesday, where a slew of measures were announced that Pakistan's now responded to in a tit-for-tat measure, India's also gone one step further. It's held meetings with envoys of different nations, including Russia, US, UK, China, and the European Union, briefing these envoys on how it's handled the issue of the terror attack, its allegations leveled against Pakistan, and the steps it's taken. So India's also trying to build that international support for it. Prime Minister Modi alluded to that in his speech as well, where he said that every country is a friend of India in the world, and they're standing with India as it fights terror, especially given the magnitude of this strike. But you know what? Something experts have not ruled out is a military operation by India, because of the language that Prime Minister Narendra Modi used, talking about hitting back against the perpetrators and their backers. We saw this in 2019 when 40 Indian soldiers were killed in a similar terror strike in Kashmir. India had conducted airstrikes in Pakistan, inside Pakistan, targeting quote-unquote terrorist camps, something that Pakistan responded to in kind with air raids. Unfortunately, that issue didn't escalate beyond that, but ties have been significantly hit after that as well. In 2016, India also conducted what it called surgical strikes inside Pakistan as well, and many experts have been speaking to say it's not a question of whether India will conduct a military operation, it's a question of when. But there are also concerns in South Asia that if that happens, tensions between the two nuclear-armed neighbours could significantly rise further, and they're warning that this is not a time for the two countries to enter into a full-blown conflict.
Thanks for that. Neha, Poonia in Delhi and Hira, Mustafa in Islamabad laying out those tit-for-tat retaliations between the two countries over that attack in Indian-administered Kashmir and the larger issues behind them. Thank you.